Why You Can't Get a Girlfriend. Another look at modern dating. The red pill. The red pill, to me, is a very depressing and unreal look at reality, much in the way that the worldview of the incel, or the black pill, which I will be talking about later on, is. It is an almost video game based view of life, with the kind of ridiculous values, the ridiculous valuations, the ridiculous definitions of sexual value, and the idea of what is attractive to a person, especially to women, as though money or the meanness, the kind of blank cruelty of a man is what is attractive. This is a complete denial and misunderstanding of the romantic tradition, of the traditions of sexuality. This is why I value Camille Paglia's work, Sexual Personae, so highly. It looks at really how many types of men, how many types of sexual personae there are, to try and whittle it down to a series of pickup lines, to a series of economic standards and little social cues, is to deny what is inherent in your own unconscious. I think that it's unfortunate to put it this way, but I really do think that it is an attempt of, it is almost a slave rebellion, where there are people who simply lack energy. They lack animal magnetism, which is, of course, the X factor of sexuality. People will not be attracted to you if you do not have mana. And they try to masquerade as if they had mana. This is something that Drama Mineralis and I have talked about, which is essentially that there is a natural, energetic elite. This is not racial. This is not economic. This is solely a question of fate, really, of destiny, of synchronicity. Which people have a wellspring of drive, a wellspring of animal magnetism? That is the reality of sexuality. When things like the black pill assume that looks are primary to women, this is, again, a complete misunderstanding of sexuality, especially of feminine sexuality. It is males who are scopophilic, which is that they are sight-based in their sexuality. Women are generally, in the Freudian view, not operating on scopophilia. This is very important because the black pill and the incel, quote-unquote, science of lookism is based on a very essential misunderstanding, as if there was a jaw size or a skull structure that would make them sexual, when the reality of it is almost a much more miserable, tragic lack on their part, which is that of energy. It is almost a kind. I think that the inept nature of this view is due to, of course, a major lack of socialization that leads to what I have described previously as a media-induced autism. This is why sexuality takes on an alien, cold, logical character. Sexuality is not logical. Sexuality is inherently irrational. This is why, to understand sexuality, to engage in it, one needs to look at art and psychology, which are irrational fields when they are at their best, to engage in a poetics of sex. If you are trying to understand sex or art through science, you are denying literally the only vital component of that thing. And so in this video, what I am offering is, in the words of Zizek, the third pill. When Zizek is offered the matrix problem of, do you want the red pill or do you want the blue pill? He says, I want neither, I want a third pill. And so I'm going to try and offer you all who feel sexually inept, socially inept, as I was criticized greatly in my video on incels and on the black pill, that, I was only offering this pseudoscientific nonsense. Well, perhaps you're right. Perhaps I am merely engaging in pseudoscientific nonsense, but it is a pseudoscientific nonsense that works. In my own case, in my friends' cases, and in a case of a tradition itself. And so, here is my third pill. Number 1, the evolutionary psychology, which incel lookism and the red pill oftentimes base themselves in, is complete and utter nonsense. Here's the case that I will offer in the ridiculousness of evolutionary psychology. I will probably have the image in the video, so you can read along there, but I'm going to just give a brief description. So, in trying to explain the evolutionary causation of cunnilingus, or oral sex, the idea that evolutionary psychologists had is that the goal is that the male is sucking out the semen of competitive mates from their desired partner. This is utterly bizarre and ridiculous. This is beyond words a complete misunderstanding of something which, if you look at the Freudian psychoanalytic view, is really very simple and clear, which is that through breastfeeding, through the foundational formation of senses in the child's mouth, because their ability to reach out to the object of desire, to the love object of their mother's breast, is through their mouth. And thus an oral fixation can form depending on the length of the breastfeeding or various problems that can occur at that point. Both of these will lead to a sexualization of the mouth, and therefore the application of the mouth instead of the genitals onto a partner's genitals is an energetically, unconsciously pleasing act. I think that this is very clear. Evolutionary psychology does not understand sexuality. Period. Number 2, sexuality is energetic and based in personal, familial archetypes, not on physical ones. So when you get this idea that I have to look like this, my chin, my skull, my wrists, or whatever, I have to look that way perfectly to be attractive to anybody, this again is nonsense. There are, there are phenotypes of bodies. Each one is attractive to many people, of course. There's not some. I do not think that there is an inherent racial attractiveness for any one group, other than one that is induced through art and media. But the family and the friends are what form the sexual archetypes as a child. There is not an overarching monotype of attractiveness. Everybody had their view of an attractive person influenced by their livelihood. This is why there are, of course, beautiful women who date fat, ugly slobs. Fortunately, I am one of those. But this is, of course, not just based on a father. This is based on a variety of social influences. So the idea that you do not fit a singular archetype of attractiveness, and as if that is the thing that prevents you from getting a girlfriend, or getting a partner, or getting a boyfriend, is garbage. What I am trying to argue for, essentially, is that reality is deeply nuanced, that there is no singular reason that you can't get a girlfriend. There is no one thing, and there is no one way to be attractive. When I talk about having energy, that is something that looks unbelievably different from person to person. Animal magnetism, libido, orgone energy all express themselves in a deeply unique fashion from individual to individual. But what is important is that people can unconsciously sense it. If you are an attractive person, it has very little to do with fitting a form, especially one that's physical. It has to do with embodying a type, embodying an archetype. That is what is attractive. Each of the gods was attractive for a different reason. If you make ugliness, misery, and sadness your lifestyle, if you deny the energetic aspect of your existence, you are denying your ability to have love. This is why these mimetic, viral philosophies, which are aimed at spreading misery, are so important. There is a fairy tale of the fox who had his tail bitten off, and upon returning to his fox clan, he says, "Everybody, look at how beautiful I am. Look at how attractive I am without my tail. You should all cut off your tails as well." This is very much the idea. This is the incel philosophy. This is the red pill philosophy. It is a philosophy by miserable people, meant to make people who had an inclination towards sadness and asociality, and it pushes them off the deep end. Hopefully, this video has been some help to you. Let me know in the comments what you think. As always, memes matter.